Hey heathens! How often do you hear other theists of whatever type talk about how their God lives outside of space and time? Okay. A lot of people have a horrible understanding of evolution, and we deal with those all the time. And as complicated as evolution is, it is the ABCs of science compared to the theory of relativity. Understanding the space-time continuum and understanding the greater details of how this universe began goes far beyond what evolution does. I mean, it's just way out there. So it's not a surprise that people who can't figure out how evolution works would so horribly butcher the theory of relativity and the idea of being outside of time. These people will get superficial understanding of what Einstein has taught, and they'll get superficial understanding of how the Big Bang is supposed to work and all this stuff, and they'll then profess their God to exist outside of all that. So this video is all about that. I'm going to try and help people understand just how absurd outside of time and outside of space is as a concept. Okay, so first and foremost, let's understand what relativity means, because sometimes even non-believers who are just casual scientists, I like to call them, the people that they're not formally trained, but they like to think that they are because they read a book or two, misunderstanding this theory. Now, what we have found is that the effects of time vary dependent upon the speed of things, and if you can slow things down to a certain extent or speed them up to a certain extent, the perceived time is different from one to the other. But understand, this is merely a perception, because what we're talking about are the effects of what we call time. So imagine it this way. Imagine you have a ruler. The ruler measures 1 foot, or if for those of you who aren't on the U.S. standard, which is like everybody else, let's say we have a yardstick versus a meter stick. Now imagine that all matter gets compressed. All matter gets compressed. Would you know the difference that the meter stick or the yardstick is now smaller than it was before? No, of course you wouldn't, because you are yourself smaller than before, because you have been compressed along with everything else. So when you measured something, you would still say that it was a foot long, or 10 centimeters long, or whatever you might measure it to be. Make that ruler even smaller. Make the measure stick even smaller. You will still say that it's a foot long. You will say, look, no, I remeasured it, it's still just a foot long, because your ruler has also changed. Everything has changed. Time is like that. If we adjust everything around you based on the speed that you're moving and things like that, the effects of time and what you see and what you observe will all change with it. Okay? You will not physically age as fast as someone else who is moving at a different relative speed, so that their time is different than yours. Okay? All right. Now let's go to the theist argument of their God is outside of time. Okay. If their God existed outside of time, then he could not do anything before he did anything else. He could not do anything after he did anything else. That means that if their God exists outside of time, he does not exist. And they just proved that by their definition of their God existing outside of time. Because if he can't do anything before or anything after what he's doing, then he can't do anything, because there is nothing. Now, I do kind of agree with this, because I do believe there is no such thing as past. There is no such thing as future. There is only now. And time is strictly a measurement between two nows. There is the now whenever I started this video, and the now when I'm going to end this video, and the time it took to get between the two nows. If you were watching this video in high speed, you would get there faster, but your perception of time would be the same because you yourself were moving in high speed. So understand the difference there. All right, so that's time. Space is no different. If your God exists anywhere, he is in space. This space, no. But a space, yes. So he cannot exist outside of space. He can exist outside of this space, like you exist outside of my house, but you still exist somewhere in a different space. So no, your God can't exist outside of space, because if he does not exist. And again, you have disproved your own God. Now, keep in mind, I am not trying to tell you that, your God, I have proven that your God does not exist. No, that's not what this is. What I'm saying is that if you're going to make the statement that your God exists outside of time and space, you are either a moron, or you're ill-informed of what space-time is all about, or you have disproved your own God, or maybe you just hadn't thought about it enough. And I'm hoping for the last one. So please think a little bit deeper about this, because it's not really that difficult when you boil it all down. And again, to all the other people who know enough about science and accept science, who misconstrue the idea that there is no such thing as before the Big Bang. There was before the Big Bang. This is relativity, and our universe is not subject to that relativity. Time before our universe is irrelevant to our universe. That's what relativity is all about. So, don't take my word for it. Think for yourselves.